All right. So thank you all so much for coming to learn more about our research abroad program in Aachen, Germany. And we have our wonderful partner, Jan, here, who is our on the ground person who's doing all the organizing on Aachen side. And then we have our wonderful past participant, Hui, here, and she's here to share her experience. She did the program last year. So I am going to hand it over to Jan and let him go forward.
Sounds good. I guess we're an exclusive group today, so that's very good. Eden, thank you for introducing me. Always a pleasure. And we want to make this as interactive as possible. So any questions you may have, shoot right away, please, or interrupt us during the meeting because I brought slides, of course. Everybody has prepared their part, I suppose. But since right now it's only three of us, or three of you, three of us, you get a one-on-one information session here, so please feel free to make this as individual as possible. But without further ado, I'd like to share my slides that I brought. So let's see, here we are. I want to make this full screen. Okay, can everybody see the entire screen? Yes, awesome. So, yes, I guess you all know what we're talking about since you're here and you have probably at least informed yourself on the surface about what our program could offer, but we're here to give you a little more detail, a little more information on our very beloved Europe International program. We've been doing this for quite a while, and we've had the pleasure of having a lot of Michigan students at Aachen over the past, I don't know how many years, but it's been quite a ride with everybody, and we are more than happy to show you what we'll have in store for next year. Since Aachen might not be a household name for everybody in the US, let alone in Europe, sometimes what we always do at first is show you where we are located, which is also interesting because it's right on the border with the Netherlands and Belgium. So it is a very European city. I'll go into detail a bit later as well, but you can also see that it's conveniently located for all of you. And I think I probably speak for all of you who intend to travel while they're in Europe, because that usually makes up quite a great deal of your experience here, that you can reach all these destinations here easily by train mostly. Within just a couple of hours. Aachen itself is a very European city, as I mentioned before, but also a very student city. So we have, I always call it, or what I always refer to, is that it's not too big and not too small. And everybody here has also been, oh, my wonderful colleagues have also been to Aachen, so they can probably confirm. It probably does feel different than Ann Arbor because we're still in Europe. You guys are in the US. But you will definitely feel the student vibes, but you also have lots of beautiful architecture. We have a beautiful old town. If you do get bored of our 250,000 people at some point during your almost 3 months, you can always jump on a train, go to some of the biggest cities in the vicinity, and explore a bit there yourself. If you're into nature, I think many people or many students this year made use of that as well. There's not, well, maybe not the great outdoors as you would refer to in the States, but here I guess we also have a good mix of nature right on the doorstep. Our university itself is probably, we don't like to brag, but we are one of the best universities in Europe. Currently, one of the 11 universities of excellence in Germany. So a bit, but not similar, or well, let's put it this way, a bit similar to the Ivy League, even though the concept is, of course, a bit different. You being a public Ivy yeah, I guess we're a good match. Let's put it this way. We are also the fourth largest public university in Germany, top two University of Technology, together with Munich in the country. And we usually refer, or used to refer to ourselves as the powerhouse of German engineering. But the university is so much more than just a good engineering university, which you will also see later on. It's also a very international place, so you will definitely not be alone. We have, of all the students we have 33% international students. And that is something you can definitely feel while you're here in Aachen as well. I don't want to go into detail here. This should just give you a brief overview of what different disciplines we offer. So, of course, very STEM heavy, but we also do have business. We do have arts and humanities. Of course, all of you are from the College of Engineering, but just so that you've heard that we're not just engineering. If you're into interdisciplinary projects, you will definitely find a lot within our program as well. Rankings, well, I guess I mentioned that before that we are pretty good. But just here as an overview, currently top 100, so 92 for the Times Higher Education ranking, but we score pretty well in individual rankings when it comes to STEM majors, and that you can see here as well. Then about the program, because that's what you are here for. So now you know who we are, but you'll probably also want to know a bit more about Europe International. We do offer a 10-week research internship program over the summer, so it caters very much to your schedule as well, solely for participants from American and Canadian universities. We usually have I'd say, 2/3 American universities, 1/3 Canadian universities. But it's usually a good mix of very good institutions being represented as part of the program. We do not only offer the research component, but it is at the core of our programs. So you will have an individual research experience that you can choose from on our database. I'll show you a bit more about that later. Currently, our supervisors, well, not currently, they just finished up uploading all the new projects and kicking out old projects. So you will have more than 120 research projects to choose from. Normally, you would do that either individually or in a smaller group. So there might be another 1 or 2 Europe students working with you as well, but you will be integrated into the larger research environment, meaning you will be part of a team spearheaded by a professor, but usually what you will do is work with PhD students or other researchers on a particular topic. We also have the German language, depending on your previous knowledge, of course, different courses for you. Most people do the beginner's course, but if you are advanced, we will place you individually into other existing courses with other international students at our university. But we, of course, also want you to have fun. I'm not saying that research cannot be fun and learning German cannot be fun, but we'll have quite a good program in store for you. That's a good mix of cultural things. So we take you on field trips every Wednesday and every Saturday if you want to. That's all optional. We also try to offer lots of fun activities that everybody, according to their needs and interests, can participate in or not. But the research and the German is, of course, mandatory for everybody participating in the program. Then the dates, if you haven't seen that on the website yet, I brought them with me here today. We usually start mid-May. You should arrive by May 15th, but if you want to, you can arrive earlier. The program itself starts on Monday the 18th, and the last day of the program is July 24th. That's also Friday. If you want to stay a bit longer, you're of course more than welcome to do so. Some people also make use of, as I mentioned before, traveling either prior or after the program. Just be aware that you usually have 90 days in Europe. You don't need a visa if you are an American citizen. Other nationalities, but we will look into that one with Eden as well, might have to apply for a visa beforehand. Just for you to bear in mind that usually it's easy and everybody stays somewhere close to those 90 days anyway. Then what I promised before, just a quick ride through what we offer. Some of the cities we go to, we change it up a bit every year, but these are some of our staples in the vicinity. So the former capital, Bonn, Cologne, Düsseldorf, Maastricht, they really just, 1 or 2 hours by train. And that's something we do every Saturday, but we also do other cultural things. Some might be tied to some of the trips I mentioned before. We go to museums. We do, of course, castles, because you'll be in Germany. You might as well want to see at least one castle. But we also do a bit of, what I mentioned before, nature, sports. And we have a dedicated team, as Eden mentioned before. I'm the person on the ground. Yes, I run the program, but I do have a lovely colleague, Alina. And we usually have two student assistants, which you will see quite a lot of because they accompany you on the trips. We usually also have an intern from either Canada or the US. So hopefully we'll have somebody joining us again this year. But what I wanted to say is you'll be in very good hands. And we take care of everybody quite individually and quite intensively. This is probably getting a bit too much into detail, but I just wanted to mention that because you might have been wondering, okay, how am I going to travel? Um, Most people make use of what's called the Germany ticket, the Deutschland ticket, because it allows you to travel the entire country by regional transport. Doesn't mean you can take the bullet trains, the ICE that you see here, but especially for trips within 2 or 3 hours, that's a great way. And that ticket is included in in your program fee. Buddy program, just wanted to mention that you will have a buddy that will take care of you, especially at the beginning, for any questions you may have or any insecurities you may have. They also are supposed to pick you up from the train station. They are supposed to provide you with bed linens, and generally speaking, just get you started throughout the first couple of weeks. And then, of course, if you want to, stick around, become friends, but of course, that is also optional. The database I mentioned before, that is something if you intend to apply to the program that I would encourage you to take a look at already because we have the aforementioned 125, 26. We still have a couple of late editions projects there to see if there's anything or if there are projects that cater to your interest, to your research objectives, but also just to get a general idea of what the program could be about, because that is, of course, front and center to what you will be doing. So if there's no project for you, you might probably want to opt for a different option that IPE has to offer, but we usually have a very great mix of topics that everybody can find at least 2 or 3 potential projects in, and that's also a requirement. So 2 or 3 projects you should definitely apply for. 3 is the maximum. The documents, Eden will go into detail about that a bit later as well, because they are almost identical, I think, to the documents that you will have to submit for IPE anyway, so you will have them at hand. I should probably mention here that yes, you apply to IPE, and Eden will elaborate on that later on as well, but you just submit the documents to us as well, because on that basis, we will be able to forward all the documents to our supervisors to assess your applications. Some impressions of the great highlight at the end, which is our symposium, where everybody gets to present their projects to a great audience. So all your peers, all your fellow Europe participants, but also to your supervisors. And we always call it the grand finale of the program. And essentially that is also what it is, because it's one great goodbye, but it's also very interesting for everybody to see what other people have actually been working on over 10 weeks. And what I always mention is at this point that the group spirit is really great for Europe International. We, of course, always highlight the research experience, the German class and everything, but you will see that the program is mostly about the people that you will meet. Lots of students here, of course, at RWTH, but also your fellow participants. And we have quite a number of people who refer to it as, that they've made friends for life, and it's been a life-changing experience for them. And of course, should you join the program, we hope that that will also apply to you. Great. Now I have done what I didn't want to do, talk all the time, but and now I'm ready for questions. But yes, and I mean it. So you can also ask later on as well. But if you have any questions for me directly, feel free to ask away.
Feel free to put them in the chat too if you don't. If you're
Yeah,
not in a place where you can have you.
probably stop sharing.
Okay. Feel free if you think of something later on, please again either put it in the chat or you won't have time again. Just unmute yourself. It's pretty informal, so let us know.
Yeah.
Um,
No
hopefully-
pressure though.
Yeah, it's okay if you don't have any at this
Yeah.
point. Um, Let's pass it on to Faye to talk about your experience.
Perfect. Let me share my screen real quick. Can you guys see?
It's coming. There we go.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Hi everyone, my name is Wei. I'm currently a senior in BME and I participated in the program in summer 2024. I did a 3D bioprinting project and I was also in the intermediate German class. My email is on the screen and I'm also an IPE peer advisor. My hours are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. In our office in Chrysler. So feel free to contact me anytime through email or stop by my office hours if you guys have any questions about the program. So I'll get started with a quick introduction of my project. So I worked on a project in 3D bioprinting, which is an emerging technology in the tissue engineering field. It's basically 3D printing, but with cells instead. Pretty cool. But going into the project, I honestly didn't really have any experience like working in a wet lab. Or anything to do with like cells or tissue engineering in general. So it was really daunting at the beginning for me, but luckily the PhD student that I worked with over the summer was really patient with me and mentored me throughout my project. Eden will certainly like highlight this later, but I feel like how much you get out of this program is definitely how much you put in. There were a lot of times throughout the program where I had to do readings on my own to understand like what I was doing or what my project was about. There was a lot of times where I had to do self-directed work or be proactive in asking for help or for more work from my mentor. And I also ran into some difficulties in receiving some supplies for my experiment. So there were times where I just had to pivot what I was doing. I say this not to scare you guys, but all of this like helped me really develop independence and also confidence in myself and my skills. And it also allowed me to get a lot more hands-on experience and tailor the experience of my project to my own interests. And this was something that I was able to highlight when I came back to Michigan after the program. It helped me join a lab at Michigan that had similar research, so I was able to continue studying cells and 3D printing. And then it also helped me land my internship last summer. So overall, it was a really amazing experience and extremely rewarding. I also really loved the people in my lab. There were a lot of people from all over the world who were doing research there. So it was a really fun like way to meet people and do like a cultural exchange as well. We would eat lunch together all the time. So I got really close to my lab mates. And we would also do some like parties or like celebrations together too. It's really blurry, but this photo is us at our 4th of July barbecue. And we like set like tiny little fireworks and like sparklers off. So that was a really fun way to like share, I guess, like American culture with people. I also really loved my German class. So on the right is a photo of me and my class at our end of the semester hangout. I also didn't really know any German coming in except for a couple of words off of Duolingo, but my teacher was really amazing. She was really patient with me and I was able to pick up the language pretty quickly. We did a lot of dialogue practice during our class as well. So I got really comfortable speaking the language and using it outside of class despite being a beginner. I think my favorite part of the program, though, was getting to meet the other students. Like Jan mentioned earlier, there are students from all over the world, from Canada and the US mainly. But in my year, we had a cohort around 50 students, and we did a lot of traveling and bonding together. We'd grab meals after class or like after research, meet up at the like student bars as well. But I'm still friends with a lot of people in the program. And I still keep in contact with them like weekly. So it's definitely a really like life-changing like experience and a way to meet people as well. Here's a couple of more pictures from my time in Aachen. So on the left is the cathedral in the city, and then on the right is the main square. It's a really, really historic city with a lot of beautiful architecture and a great blend of like modern and like old. We also went on a couple of program excursions, like Jan mentioned earlier. So on the left is a photo of a nearby town, Monschau, and then on the right is a photo from a castle in Brühl that we went to as well. But yeah, that's all that I have for you guys today. But as I said earlier, please feel free to contact me with any questions.
So thank you so much. It's so fun to hear from your experience because I get to help you all go, but then it's hit or miss if I hear what happens afterwards. So I'm so excited always to hear from you. Any questions for Hui at this point? All right. Then we're going to move on to the IPE section of this presentation. Unfortunately, it's not probably as fun as Jan's and Hui's. It's a lot more logistics, but it is pretty important. I'll try and make it as painless as possible. So hopefully you all have looked at the M-Compass brochure, the online brochure for the program. It has pretty much all of this information on there. The program dates Jan already went over. The program fee is $2,060, and that includes housing, tuition for the program, all the excursions that Europe provides for you, the German transportation pass on the slow trains, international health insurance, and then the IPE orientation fee. This is the only thing that gets posted to your UMISH account for the summer. So it's not UMISH tuition. This will be a flat fee. However, you definitely want to check out our budget sheet, which is also on the brochure, because there are some other costs outside of this program fee that you should be thinking about. In particular, the airfare, obviously, to get to Germany, as well as things like liability insurance should be pretty minimal. Books and supplies, again, pretty minimal. Meals, so you should have access to a kitchen. So the more you cook, the more money you can save. But if you know yourself, then you hate to cook, assume you're going to be budgeting more for eating out. And then we also tried to give a baseline for personal expenses. And so we tried to just do like toiletries, laundry, emergency fund, clothing. But as Jan said, if you're going to do a lot of traveling on the weekends, that's where students usually end up spending more money than they think they will. So make sure you're pre-planning ahead and thinking accordingly. That is definitely not included in this budget sheet because it varies so much from student to student. So make sure you do your due diligence so you're not halfway through the program and wondering where all your money went because you did a lot of unexpected side travel. The other thing to keep in mind is if you don't already have a passport that's valid for 6 months beyond the end of the program, so that would put it at January 2027, you'll either have to get your first passport or you will need to renew the passport. So definitely something you should be doing now. So if you do need to do that, there will be some fees involved. For passport photos, we offer free passport photos in the IPE office every Friday from 1:30 to 3:30, like classes are in session. So you can save yourself $12 if you do that. But overall, the entire cost for the program that we could think of estimated would be around the $5,400 mark. Again, depends on your personal habits, your budgeting, whether you eat out or all that is going to come into play. Happy to chat with any of you about budgeting or the program fee or any questions regarding financial situations. We're going to go over the things like financial aid, estimate worksheets, and inputs. Housing is, well, we didn't go over this in Jan's portion, but we can touch on it if you all are interested, but they will be in basically student residences. And so there is quite a bit of some you might have studio versus single shared apartment. So I know Jan's team really does their best to put people closest to their labs and their place of work for their learning class, depending on how it shapes out. So it can change a little bit based on that. I don't know, Jan, if you have any other insights you'd like to share about housing.
No, you summarize that pretty well. And usually what we also do is, of course, there might be variations, but since you are part of the IPE, you tend to get the better apartments because it's all part of this package deal. That is inside information. Don't mention that to anybody else. No, I'm just kidding. So that usually works out quite well. And as Eden said, we try to get you as close to your lab as possible. This year it panned out pretty well, but there's never, I think, anybody taking more than 30 minutes to commute to their place of work. Usually it's a lot less. Yeah, but standards are usually pretty good. We've had, I think, also from Michigan telling us that the standard was better here, but that I guess it always depends on what dorm you're in as well, because they tend to vary quite a bit.
Again, feel free if you have questions, let us know. The IPE application deadline is December 18th. So it's a 2-round process. If you are nominated, then you'll have to do Aachen's application, and that will be due by January 10. For this program, you do have to have a minimum 3.2 GPA. You have to be either current Ann Arbor College of Engineering students or declared LSACS students in order to qualify. Undergrad students only. You must have completed at least 2 semesters of the university coursework prior to the start of the program. So current freshmen can apply, but a heads up, depending on the amount of applicants we get, it can get a little competitive. And therefore, preference most likely will be given more towards the current sophomores and above. Unless you are a freshman with a lot of research experience. There is no foreign language proficiency for the program, as Jan said. There's a German language course that would be part of the program, but you're not expected to know German before the program starts. And all of your work in the lab, not for language. Again, you do need a valid passport as part of your application. So definitely look at your passport if you have one, make sure it's good until January 2027. And if not, get working on getting that renewed. And you must expedite your passport application if you don't have one already in order to upload that receipt to your application. So generally, I mentioned 2 rounds. So the IPE round, you get your application by December 18. At that point, we have a certain number of slots that we can nominate to Aachen. So you are kind of competing with your other College of Engineering, declared LSACS students. And so if you make it past the first round, we plan on reviewing apps and sending out nominees by December 23rd. And we will provide the link to apply to Aachen's application at that time. And so you can work on Aachen's application throughout winter break. It shouldn't be anything too intensive because like Jan said, we require a lot of the materials for our app. So it should be a pretty quick just copy and paste from your IPE application. After you submit that by January 10th, there's kind of a waiting period while all the supervisors at Aachen are reviewing all the resumes and statements of purpose from students who are interested in their projects. At that point, you're competing for slots against other US and Canadian students. So it is quite a big pool of students. Like Betty said, she had 50 students in her cohort, so it does take a while. for results to come through. So you will be waiting until around maybe mid-February to early March in order to hear if you've been placed in a project. If you do get accepted and placed, you will then have 1 week to confirm your participation in the program. This is IPE's policy. And if you do say yes officially, you will be on the hook for that program fee of $2,000. So make sure you are committed and ready to do the summer program. If you say yes, we won't be able to withdraw that program fee yet. So a brief overview of the materials that you'll need in mCompass. When you go to our page and you just hit the apply button, there's going to be a list of things that pop up. A lot of them are just learning content and signature documents, which is just reading and signing. But we do have 2 short essays about why you want to do the program and study research abroad in general. We also have the letter of motivation for each project of interest. So as Jan said, you can apply for between 2 to 3 projects. So you do have to write, so like not more than a page, reason why you are interested in the project, what makes you a good fit for the program, that particular project with skills and experience you've got. And you'll do that for each project that you are applying for. That's probably the most time-consuming part. The CV and resume, hopefully you've all got it started, but if you haven't, then that's going to also probably take some time to put together. So your past experiences, if you have previous research experience, or if you've done some hands-on technical work, like working on a group project or on a project team, those are always great to include. And then again, you'll need a copy of your passport as part of the application, and then a required research group advising appointment. For those of you on the call today, I'll make a note to myself to go ahead and check those off for you and for your opt-in application, since we're learning about everything here. For those of you watching the recording, you'll have to, there's a link in the application to register for one of these sessions. And then again, at that point, that's the IPE application. There is quite a bit of writing involved. So definitely try and get started, because December 18th is coming up fast. And I know you are all working with finals as well, so it's hard to balance. The Aachen online application, once you do ours, like the statements of the letters of motivation, the CV and resume, passport, the only additional thing you'll need is a copy of the transcript. So that unofficial, we said, I believe Jan, unofficial is still okay this year?
Yes, certainly.
Perfect.
More than fine.
So it shouldn't take you very long, and you'll just have to upload a copy of your transcripts. So that part, most of the work you're doing on the front end for the IPE application. As we said, these research abroad is a little bit of a different beast than your typical study abroad. So just a heads up that the candidates that are going to be most successful, and if you can demonstrate this throughout your essays, throughout your CV and resume, we're looking for people who can excel at being self-directed and self-motivated, because you will have a high degree of independence and possibly working with vague instructions. Every research supervisor is different, but it is going to be like a real job. They're not going to be staring over your shoulder like all the time you're in the lab. They expect you to be able to work on things yourself and to figure out different avenues of self. You also have to be flexible and adaptable. Your project, there's definitely a description, but once you get there, it might be a little bit different than you expected it would be. But you will still need to give 100% of your effort, even if it's not exactly what you thought it would be. Also make sure you're taking the initiative to communicate with your supervisor. It's going to be on you to ask for instructions and clarification. So if you're unsure about your supervisor's expectations or the project deliverables, again, we're looking for people who are comfortable taking that initiative to seek out instruction and guidance. And finally, just having a strong work ethic in general. So you're gonna have to show up to work and teach yourself concepts, like what you said. You might have to do readings outside of your project hours to figure out what it is you are expected to be learning. If your supervisor allows some virtual work, I'm not sure if that is, I know some of our other research programs, I don't know if that is allowed in Aachen.
Depends on the project. So we have some, for instance, computer science, where I think they're more lenient and allowing people to work from home, whereas people working in labs usually are supposed to be there. But of course, there's some degree of flexibility, but that varies quite a bit from project to project.
Expect that you will need to show up in the lab in person
Yes.
9 to, whenever the supervisor expects you to be there. If they do, if you are on a computer science project that allows a little bit more flexibility, just make sure you're not abusing that and making sure that you let them know when you're going to be working remotely in accordance to whatever policy that they've laid out. All right, so if you do use financial aid, you can use it towards this program. Definitely make sure you are checking out, again, on the brochure. This. There's a finances tab. Hopefully you all have seen it. But the budget sheet that I showed you is linked there. And also this financial aid estimate about worksheet is there. You just plug in the numbers from the budget sheet. You send it off to the Office of Financial Aid. That email's right there on the sheet. And they will send it back with the gray box filled out with an estimate of how much of your normal aid package you can use towards the program. They probably won't be able to give you an estimate until early December. So it's going to be kind of closer to the deadline. So hold off on doing this step until first week of December. But definitely great if you're worried about finances and making that part of the program work. And then, of course, we do have an IPE Go Global Fund. So if you are a COE student, you're automatically going to be considered for this scholarship. There's no extra application. And then we also have bloggers. We have students blog about their experience. So you get a little bit of a stipend if you apply to be one of those bloggers and are accepted. It's not a ton of money, but it's good pocket money. Definitely can help towards those meals and personal expenses. And then definitely we have external scholarships that I recommend looking at our funding page. Open up some of these tabs and just spend some time looking through those to see if you're eligible to apply for those scholarships as well. Promise, I'm almost done. This is probably the most dry part of the presentation. But if you do have any questions or anything that's personal that you don't want to chat about here on again on the brochure, if you go to the contact page, you can schedule an appointment with me so you can chat one-on-one. But we also, of course, have Jan and Haley's contact as well listed here if you do think of questions that you were too shy or maybe you just forgot to ask. I'm going to stop the recording.